After that, Juliana goes to meet the family, and the first thing I was hoping to see, I was just like, Juliana, please put the girls away. Like, hi everyone, my name's Dimitri and welcome back to DimitriTube, The Bachelor, the finale. Let's talk about it. As always, if you enjoy my videos, please go ahead and pound that like button, pound that subscribe button, and ring that notification bell. I'm a growing YouTuber and subscribes really help me out. Just one quick thing before we get started. So somebody in my comments last week pointed out that Grant played professional basketball in the Dominican Republic. And y'all, I truly did not know that. I swear I pay attention when I'm watching this show, and Grant has mentioned playing professional basketball multiple times, but I've never heard him say where. I just assumed it was somewhere in Europe. Most people who play basketball and don't make NBA in the States, I feel like they end up just going to Europe. I have never heard this man say, I played professional ball in the Dominican Republic. And what makes it worse is they were in Spain earlier this season and his Spanish was terrible. So I'm like, how did you play professional ball in DR and you know no Spanish? And then the only thing we got was his grandma was Dominican. We didn't hear any stories about him living in the Dominican Republic. So if y'all have any further receipts on Grant and his living in the Dominican Republic and playing basketball, put it in the comments below. It's not that I don't believe y'all, I would just like to know more. Because after somebody in my comments said he did live in the DR, it honestly made me feel like I have even more questions now. And y'all, before I dive into this review, let me just say, I thought this episode was so boring. Y'all know I tend to struggle on the finale episodes, but this one in particular, was it more dry than usual or was it just me? Let me know below in the comments. That's all I got. Let's dive into the episode. So we head to the studio audience in LA, and y'all, the intro to this episode was so dramatic. And not only that, Jesse Palmer was just hamming it up. And Jesse Palmer has gotten so much better since he first started doing this. Next, Grant's shirt was so ugly. Who chose this top? Grant's style this season has been eclectic grandpa or 1950s grandpa. I think that's the year. A lot of his clothes remind me of Christian from Clueless, if y'all remember his style from the movie. And the styling isn't necessarily bad, it's just not that good, but I've felt like that about the clothes pretty much this entire season. If Grant took more risks, I feel like this style would be better and work more for him. And if he pulled more 80s type things, I'm thinking the ugly Bill Cosby sweaters, or if you just watch the Cosby Show, if he pulled a little more style like that, I think it would work better. Anyways, going back to the episode, so Latia gets to meet Grant's mom, dad, and sister. And there's only two specific things I want to point out, and then I'll just talk about it generally. At one point, Grant's sister says, I liked you since day one. I'm glad you're here. And I have a point about this. I'm going to bring this up a little later. And I don't remember who asked this, but one of the parents asked, what makes you love Grant? And Latia responds, he's so caring and conscientious of my family and everyone around him. And Latia also mentions to Grant's mom that she's open to moving but would prefer a neutral place, not necessarily Salt Lake City, but also not necessarily New Jersey. She wants a space where I guess traveling to either side of the family would be reasonable. And as I expected, Latia was great with Grant's parents. In general, Latia just has that personality where she would be good with her partner's parents. But seriously, she slayed. I thought she did a way better job with the parents than Juliana did. And don't get me wrong, some of her answers to the questions were very pageanty, but Grant's parents were just eating it up. Especially at the part where Latia said, the most fulfilling part of your life starts when you have kids. Grant's parents were eating it up. And then at the end of the day, Grant and Latia exchange I love yous, and Latia goes on to explain that she's never told a partner that before. After that, Juliana goes to meet the family, and the first thing I was hoping to see, I was just like, Juliana, please put the girls away. The family does not need to see them. I was praying she did not have them out, and thankfully she did not have them out to meet the parents. And just a couple things I want to point out. Grant's mom asked Juliana, what have you found in Grant that you fell in love with? And she responds, being able to be vulnerable with him and have deep conversations. And then Grant's mom asks, do you love my son? And she says, says, we have not exchanged I love yous yet, but I'm ready to be engaged and I know we can get there. And then Juliana also mentions there's still a chance it's not here, meaning that there's still another contestant around. And then immediately after, Grant has a one-on-one with his mom, and his mom tells him, if she doesn't say I love you, walk away. And just overall, it felt like the family was a bit tougher on Juliana than they were Latia. But in general, Latia is just great with families, and you could just tell she would be better with the family than Juliana would be. Next, if you've made it this far in the video, please go ahead and pound that like button for the YouTube algorithm. And then after that, we get a one-on-one with Juliana and Grant's dad. And I thought this moment was just very sweet. I'm not sure what Grant's dad asked her, but Juliana says, I feel like I have a best friend I can talk to and not hold things back. And then Grant's dad responds and talks about how Grant has had to do things alone, and he's frequently done that by choice. In this moment, it was just very clear that Grant speaks very highly of Juliana to his father, and it was just very evident by the conversation they were having. And then after that, Grant's dad talks a little bit about his addiction. He doesn't say it specifically, but he alludes to it and how it like messed up the family. And I really didn't like that moment because it almost felt like we were on Ayala Fix My Life or whatever that show is. Also, we were losing the focus here. Like, this was supposed to be about Grant, but now we're about to make it about your recovery. Like, yes, that's important, but let's stay focused on the task ahead because I know y'all don't have a lot of time. And then at the end of the day, Grant and Juliana express I love yous. And overall, meeting the families went well for both Juliana and Latia, but I do think Grant's mom and sister liked Latia a little bit more, but we're going to talk about that a little later in the video. Next, we go back to the studio audience with Jesse Palmer, and Jesse brings out Clayton, the Golden Bachelor, I forgot his name, and Charity. And y'all, Clayton is clean shaved and he has a curly mullet now, and y'all, he just looks like a boy. After that, we move into the one-on-one dates. For the first one, Juliana and Grant take a boat, and y'all, I really don't have anything in my notes for this date other than hi boyfriend, hi boyfriend. And during the night portion, Juliana's dress is cute, but it's a little plain, and overall nothing really happened. The only thing is Juliana's a little worried that Grant will choose Latia over her. After that, we move on to the one-on-one with Latia, and for the date they ride ponies, and like they definitely already did that during Latia's hometown. Like, can we get more creative dates here, please? And it's also possible that Grant and Latia were gonna do something else for the date, but it looked like they got rained out, so they may have not had an opportunity to do whatever was planned. And at one point, Grant poses the question that Latia wants kids in a couple years, and Grant is like, what if in a few years I'm not ready? Like, how would you respond to that or something? And Latia responds, well, it depends on the reason. She explains she wants him to be ready and happy for the kids. She doesn't want it to be like a rush job either. Like, she'd be willing to wait, but it would depend on the reason. So just a few thoughts on Latia at this point. We are getting a lot of Latia in one episode, and specifically this episode, she seemed more robotic than ever, and her responses seemed very robotic to me. Did anyone else feel that way? Let me know below in the comments. This is the thing about Latia. Yes, she has a vocal fry and she definitely takes her time to like respond and answer questions, but when she does, she answers things so eloquently, and she just has an amazing choice of words. And that's how I knew she was gonna do better meeting the families than Juliana. When she was meeting Grant's parents, and now during this final one-on-one with Grant, she is answering all these questions basically perfectly, and it's almost like an angel came down and just like, you know what I'm saying, like it's so perfect, it's almost robotic. And Grant in this moment even pried further and asked, is your family pressuring you to get married and have kids? And Latia responds, her family does not pressure her because they see in her heart she wants to be a mom, but the pressure is not specifically from her family. And I'm like, dang, could you have answered that more perfectly? Now, this is just my opinion, do with it what you will. Religious families, especially Mormon ones, like there is a pressure to have kids. Latia is answering in a very good manner that no, there's not pressure, and maybe there's not family pressure, but I'm sure there's got to be some sort of cultural pressure there. And not just to have kids, but to get married and to have kids, because y'all, if you get on TikTok and look at some of the 17 and 18-year-olds in Utah and who are who are Mormon, and sometimes they're not even Mormon. All of them are like engaged or getting engaged at 17, 18, which to me is wild. And y'all, I'm not calling her a liar. I do not want to call her a liar, but it just feels like to me, if the cameras were off, her answers just wouldn't be as pageanty and as eloquent as they are. And not only that, she has made it very clear she wants to be married and have kids in a few years. So if in fact Grant does choose her and a couple years from now he doesn't want to have kids, Latia is saying, oh yeah, that's fine. It just depends on the reason. No. I'm telling you, if they got engaged and they were not married and planning to have kids in the next couple years, if Grant gives her a reason not to, it would be a problem. It doesn't matter what the reason is, it would be a problem. The only reason she's saying it's not a problem right now is because these cameras are on and she doesn't want to look like she's pressuring him too much. And I'm really trying my best to not say Latia is fake, because I truly don't think she's fake. But I will say, because these cameras are on, I feel like she's more polished than normal. And if these cameras weren't rolling, I feel like she would not be as polished. And I'm later confirmed this later on in the episode, which we're going to talk about. After this, Grant starts spiraling. He's in love with both Latia and Juliana. He's not sure to pick. He's not sure who to decide. And at this point, I'm just like, where is Neil Lane? Bring in Neil Lane and have him look at some rings. Looking at rings will help him decide very quickly. And after watching this one-on-one, Latia and Grant made way more sense to me. Like, I completely understand why he was torn between Juliana and Latia. They're not the same people, but I think regardless of who he chose, I do think he could have had a happy relationship with either of them. They are just different. But I still feel the same as before. In terms of lifestyle, Juliana just makes more sense. And during all of this, I thought Grant looked like a clown for not being able to decide. Like, the whole thing just seemed a little ridiculous. But at the same time, Grant, I don't think he really had anyone he could turn to or kind of rely on to help make this decision. Jesse Palmer is no help. Production is no help. If anything, in the most recent seasons, I feel like production has just thrown leads under the bus as hard as they can, actually. Neil Lane definitely isn't gonna help. And like, in defense of Grant's dad, I do appreciate that Grant's dad was someone he could talk through this with. At first, I was wondering, why didn't he talk to his sister about the decision over his dad? But now that I think about it, I think his dad makes more sense, because I'm pretty sure his sister and mom preferred Latia over Juliana, whereas his dad thought both of them were amazing. So he was more of like a neutral person to talk to about it. Anyways, after that, Latia pulls up in the Uber XL and Grant breaks up with her. Oh! It was crazy. Latia was absolutely devastated, and it was very clear she did not know that this was coming. And overall, she handled it way better than I thought she would. And this was the first time all season we have seen her break character.
Come on now.
Come on now.
Come on now.
Not only did her voice get deeper, but somehow she picked up this really country accent. Pretty much all season, we've had a bubbly and robotic Latia, and now we're getting a little bit of emotion. And parts of her response were borderline evil. At one point, she was like, what will Juliana think when she hears the things you've told me? And she also says, you made this decision so much more devastating for me. The switch up is crazy. But also her switch up was pretty crazy too. And then after, when she hopped in the Uber XL, she barely shed a tear. So, you know, that left me questioning if she even liked him. And just overall, she cried so pretty. Like, she looked absolutely stunning crying in that Uber XL. Let's unpack this. This is just what I think. Overall, Latia was just embarrassed. She was blindsided and embarrassed by Grant breaking up with her. When Latia first arrived and her and Grant kissed a couple times and then she started giving the speech, I do think Grant should have stopped her. I do feel like it did not need to go that far, but at the same time, I don't think Grant knows this show very well, and also I think production is kind of leaving him in the dust. And not only that, we've had quite a few seasons go off the rails, so I just don't think he knew that was an option. Next, as you all know, so far this has been a terrible season. And not only that, this season only had 9 episodes. It was 1 episode less than Katie Thurston's terrible season. Production wants you to make it to the end, just like the contestants want to make it as far in the process as possible. And yes, you can break up with all the contestants that you don't think are the one before the finale, but that makes the show less interesting. That's why The Bachelorette is not as good. Normally, it's very clear who The Bachelorette is going to pick very early on, but when that happens, the seasons just are not interesting. And at one point in the interview, Latia is talking to Jesse Palmer, and Latia says that Grant said, "I know it's you. I can stop the whole show right now," which, no, you can't. Latia says in her exit interview that she was skeptical and was telling Grant to press the brakes the entire time. And this makes sense because Grant is under a contract. He can't just stop on episode 3 and be like, "Oh yeah, Latia's the one. Let's wrap it up right here." You can't do that. And sorry, y'all, I went off the rails a little bit, but this is what I do think happened. I do think Latia was his top choice pretty much the whole time. But then something clicked and he realized Juliana was the one towards the end. Because to me, it makes complete sense that he was torn between Juliana and Latia, especially after that final date we watched. Like, after watching that date, I was like, oh, I can see him with Latia. Will their lives work? Probably not, but I understand why he likes both of them. And we've been hearing this since the top of the season that Grant wears his heart on his sleeve. So for him to fall for 2 women, to me, was very plausible. Next, a lot of people were saying Latia switching up at the end like this was scary. So I didn't think it was scary necessarily, but I thought it was very jarring because I hate to say it, this is what I wanted to see. I've been wanting to see like more emotion from her this whole season. The whole season we've been seeing bubbly and robotic, and now we're getting some sort of emotion. But at the same time, like, it almost made me feel like maybe Grant was dodging a bullet. And this is the tough part about the whole thing. Some of Latia's responses were kind of evil. At one point, Latia tells Grant, "You're different than what I thought." And low-key, that was kind of mean, but she was just trying to make a dig because she was upset in the moment, which is understandable because she was clearly embarrassed and devastated. But at the same time, when she was like, "What do you think Juliana is gonna think when she looks back on all of this?" It made me feel like Latia did not like Grant that much this entire time. It feels like Latia is more upset over being embarrassed on TV than she is regarding losing Grant. Let me know below in the comments what y'all think happened. This is a very tough call. I'm not completely sure. Next, if you've made it this far in the video, please go ahead and pound that like button for the YouTube algorithm. After that, we go back to Jesse Palmer and the live studio audience, and he brings out Latia for an exit interview, and there's a couple things I want to mention. First, Latia says, apparently Grant said they were getting engaged from the first one-on-one to the night before, and I just didn't believe that. Next, Latia herself even said in the interview, he made the right choice. So I love that Latia said that. Like, she can look back on this whole experience and be like, oh wow, Grant did make the right choice. She never explained why she said that, but I do think she saw what we all saw, that Juliana and Grant's lives would work better than her life would with Grant. And not only that, Latia is very religious, and like, for me, I just think what's meant to be will happen, and I feel like she probably feels the same way. Like, what's meant to be will happen, and her and Grant just weren't meant to be. Next, Latia doubles down on the fact that she was completely bamboozled. She felt led on, and she had no idea that Grant was conflicted regarding his decision. Like I said before, I do think Grant changed his mind very last minute and realized towards the end that Juliana was his pick over Latia. And Latia also says, he raised the stakes while I pumped the gas every week. So I'm not saying this is right or wrong, but you do have to raise the stakes. The point of this show is to get engaged at the end. So you have to show the contestants you're interested in some seriousness. You do have to level up every week, and there's not a lot of time in this show. Like I said earlier, this is very unfortunate, but you do have to lead on some of the contestants because you have to make it to the end of the show. Grant cannot just end the show on episode 3 and be like, oh, Latia's the one. He's under contract, he can't do that. So you do have to lead on the contestants to a certain point. And during this exit interview, Latia was accusing Grant of saying multiple things that we as an audience didn't see on on camera. So at this point, it's Latia's word versus Grant's word. And I do agree with Latia. If Grant did say all of those things, he probably shouldn't have said as much. Like, he probably didn't need to say as much as he did if he did say those things. And do not get it twisted. I'm not taking Grant's side. I'm not taking Latia's side. I'm not saying either one of them is right or wrong. I'm just saying this is the way the show is. Like, this is what the situation is. And some of y'all may just be siding with Latia due to the fact that Grant never negated anything she said. But this is just my opinion. The viewers of this show love to drag male contestants. So most of the time it's better for Grant just to take it and just take responsibility and then move on. And not only that, he's engaged to Juliana. They've been engaged for months now. This played out a while ago. For him to try to like argue back and forth now, I just feel like would not be a good look. After that, Juliana and Grant get engaged. Yep, it's that time. Outfit of the episode. For this week's outfit of the episode, I'm giving it to Juliana during her engagement dress. I'm sure you all know, another week. Y'all, this outfit is not all that. Juliana looks pretty, the dress looks good on her, but I don't love this dress, but somebody needed outfit of the episode this week. But aside from that, their engagement was beautiful. The words they told each other were beautiful, and it was just a beautiful moment. And I almost teared up a bit. I'll admit, I got the feels a little bit. Now, am I over the moon excited for this relationship and this possible marriage? No, but I am excited for them, and I'm excited for what's to come, and I'm gonna be optimistic for them. I think they're gonna go all the way, and I do think this relationship will last. And then when we go to the exit interview with Juliana and Grant, Juliana was screaming and so excited to show off her ring, and low-key I was like screaming with her in excitement. It was just a fun moment. And we also find out that they're moving to Boston, which, as y'all know, is very exciting for me because I love to hear when they're moving to places that are not San Diego or New York. And then to wrap up the episode, we get an exit interview with Jesse Palmer and Zoe. And Jesse Palmer invites Zoe to Paradise, and Paradise also gets a new twist. For the next season of Paradise, they're gonna have contestants from Bachelor and Bachelorette, as well as contestants from Golden. And sidebar, I loved Zoe's short hair and makeup. It looked really good. So I just have a bunch of questions, and yes, I do think this will be a mess. I don't remember who said this, but somebody put in my comments that for Golden Bachelor and Golden Bachelorette, they should put all the contestants on like a cruise ship and try to find love that way. And that is so much better of an idea. Next, wouldn't it be a mess if one of the Golden Bachelors got with one of the Bachelorette contestants and she just wanted him for like his money or wealth or something? Next, they are in a very humid part of Mexico, and you're on that beach like all day, and where the bunks are, like they don't have air conditioning and stuff. If I was one of the Golden contestants, I would not want to be in one of those conditions. Like, it really should have been like a cruise ship or like a yacht during the day the Golden people can be on, and maybe they can interact with like the younger contestants on the beach sometimes. Like, they really should have set it up that way, because these Golden contestants are not going to want to be on a hot beach all day with no air conditioning. And let alone, what if one of them gets sick from being outside like that? And last thing I want to say, they have not even started filming, so we're not getting Paradise for like a while. My guess is August at the earliest, if that's even possible. Let me know below in the comments if y'all still plan on watching it. This show seems to be going off the rails like pretty quickly, and I like that they're trying a new idea, but I don't think this is a good idea. I'll probably watch it, but at the moment I don't know if I'm gonna review it. We'll just have to wait and see. Let me know, do y'all want me to review it? Are y'all planning on watching it? Let me know below in the comments. And that's all I got. Normally I would do a toast, but I'm already behind on this video, so I'm gonna just skip the toast and start editing so I can get you the video quicker. But overall, this has been a great journey this season. This season was pretty boring, but y'all stuck with me and I appreciate it. And for now, there's no word on the date for the next thing for this franchise to start, so I think we're just gonna have a nice long break. I'm gonna enjoy it. I hope you all enjoy it, and I will just see you all next time. So as always, if you enjoyed this video, please go ahead and pound that like button, pound that subscribe button, and ring that notification bell, and I will see you all next time. Have a good one. Bye.